The next time you walk into a grocery store, just look around. It feels like this incredible temple of abundance, right? But what if I told you that entire feeling is, well, an illusion? The shelves are way more fragile than they look. And today, we're going to pull back that curtain. Yeah, we all kind of picture this massive warehouse in the back, just piled high with endless stock. But the truth is, it's not a warehouse at all. It's more like a very carefully arranged, very fragile display window. And folks, that window is starting to show some serious cracks. So get this. At any given moment, your average grocery store only has about a 3-day supply of food. Let that sink in for a second. 3 days. That is the entire buffer standing between everything running smoothly and total chaos. All right, so let's dig into that. What does this 3-day shelf actually mean for you and me? And look, this isn't some science fiction problem for the distant future. This is about the just-in-time delivery system we all depend on every single day. And that system is under some incredible stress right now. Think of it like this. There's a huge invisible web of trucks, ships, and databases all working together to keep those shelves full. But those invisible digital veins, they're constricting. Our source material actually puts a date on this, February 2026, just to hammer home how close this is. This isn't a drill. And the scariest part? It's all happening quietly. Nobody's sending out a memo. So, let's get to the evidence so you can see how this is building. We're going to walk through 10 items you see every day. And I'm not talking about exotic luxuries. These are the basics, the staples. And each one tells its own little story. A story about a specific fracture in our global supply chain. First up, fresh produce. I mean, getting summer berries in the middle of winter feels like a miracle, doesn't it? But that miracle is built on some really complicated trade deals. The big one, the USMCA agreement, covers almost 90% of our fresh vegetable imports. Well, it's up for renegotiation in July 2026, and just the uncertainty around that is making importers really nervous, and they're starting to pull back. Take the avocado. A huge number of them come from Mexico, which puts them right in the crosshairs of a potential tariff. And a tariff isn't some abstract idea you hear on the news. No, it's a tax that gets passed directly to you at the checkout, and it could tack on almost 30% to the price. Okay, now for something even more critical, generic medications. Did you know that around 80% of the active ingredients for our drugs come from overseas? The source material calls this the pharmacological tether, a deep dependence on other countries for our essential medicines. And when that tether gets strained, the very first things to vanish are those low-margin, generic drugs that millions of us rely on. And when it comes to pharmaceuticals, the real warning sign, the canary in the coal mine, is pediatric medicine. We're talking children's Tylenol, liquid antibiotics, stuff like that. They have the absolute tightest profit margins, which means there's zero slack in the system. When you see those shelves getting empty, it's a massive red flag that the disruption is already here and it's deep. Now let's talk about a problem right here at home. American beef cattle stocks have absolutely plummeted to a 75-year low. This isn't about imports, this is about our own production capacity shrinking dramatically, from the size of the herd itself to the workforce that's needed to process it all. And then you've got eggs. Oh man. Between the ongoing issues with poultry and the persistent gaps on the shelves, well, let's just say prices are doing things that would make a crypto chart look stable. The humble egg, once the cheapest protein you could buy, is becoming this weirdly volatile, almost luxury good. Even the banana, the most reliable, cheapest fruit in the whole store, is feeling the pressure. For decades, bananas have been a financial anchor for produce sections. But their long, complex supply lines are under extreme stress. We're already seeing prices jump by 20 or even more. Now here's a key concept so you can spot bigger problems yourself. Let's use cooking oils as an example. If one brand of oil is out of stock, okay, maybe it's just a problem with that company. But what if the store brand, the premium organic brand, and the national brand are all missing? That, my friends, is a distributor signal. It tells you the problem isn't the product, it's the entire system for getting that product to the store that has broken down. Canned vegetables. They feel like the ultimate safe bet for emergencies, right? But have you ever thought about the cost of the can itself? The steel and aluminum? Well, that cost has surged by over 50%. It just goes to show you, even the most stable shelf items are vulnerable to inflation in ways you would never expect. And finally, let's make this really personal. Your morning coffee. Let's be honest, for millions of us, it's a performance-enhancing drug that society simply cannot function without. But coffee is totally dependent on a global system that is showing major signs of stress.
It's the perfect example of a daily dependency built on an incredibly fragile, long-distance foundation.
Okay, so I know that's a lot. It feels big, maybe even a little overwhelming. But listen, the point of all this isn't to scare you, it's to prepare you. So let's pivot from the problem to the solution. It is time for all of us to stop treating the grocery store like our own personal warehouse. The source material calls this the kinetic buffer fix. It's a simple 3-step process to build your own personal supply chain. First, map your local food reality. Do you know where your local farms and farmers markets are? Find them. Second, audit your buffer. Be brutally honest about what you actually have on hand in your pantry. And third, lock in today's prices on key staples. This means strategically buying non-perishables like rice, beans, pasta, and canned goods now as a hedge against future price hikes and shortages.
And this is the goal. Right now, the store has a 3-day supply. The average home has a 3-day supply. We need to bridge that gap from 3 days of total dependency to 90 days of resilience. I know it's a significant shift, but it is an achievable one.
So let's bring this all home. I want to leave you with a final thought experiment. This is your personal call to action. Think about it. Your coffee, your bananas, the spices in your favorite meal. Pick one thing you rely on every single day that comes from somewhere else. Now, what if it just vanished from the shelf on Monday? What would your Tuesday look like? It's a simple question, but the answer is incredibly revealing. And that's really the core message here. It's all about being honest about these fragile systems now, so you aren't caught by surprise later. This isn't about paranoia. It's about paying attention. Honesty now is survival later. Stay sharp, stay prepared, stay alive.